Warning. The following program is recorded live and is not intended for children. This program may contain dark and graphic content that may be distressing for some viewers and against the terms of service for some platforms. Everything in this podcast should be considered fictional and may not necessarily be correct grammar. So, facts are not checked and no sources or citations will be provided. Anyways, thank you again for joining us. This is our new launch screen, and still making some upgrades, but yeah, we're having a lot of fun. So, on today's episode of Alice the Cat's Red Pen Editing Service, it is January 23rd, 2023. And we're going to be reading a. Actually, I'm not really sure what we're going to be reading, so let's just get right into this. I have it all set up, but I haven't read a single word. Alright, here we go. TBHB. Is this a. I don't know if this is like a script to me or if. What is this? Awoke in darkness, rolling off his bed. Okay, yeah, this is the story. Okay, so here we go. So TPHB, Awoke in Darkness. I guess that's the name. I really hate waking up scenes. We've talked about this before, actually. I've written an entire wiki about this before. It usually doesn't service the plot, and worse than that, it detracts from the actual world. So, like, what you would get and what you're going to get for the rest of the book is just immediately robbed so that you can see what's going on in their inner world. But the problem is that you get to know the inner world before you get to know the outer world, so you can't make inference of how those two things are different. So there's nothing comparable about them. It's just chaos, and then you put body to chaos. And it's actually supposed to be the other way around, is that you see a body, and then you see the inner chaos. So I really don't like waking up scenes to begin with. So rolling off his bed. Okay, at least we didn't go into the dream state, so that's good. Rolling off his bed, which was really just, this really shouldn't be here. 12 yoga mats on the surface, over 2 California king-size comforters, and binding that held it all together. All right, fair enough. The head to foot of the bed was 4 yoga mats long, but it was 3 yoga mats wide side to side. He had landed on his body pillow, guys. Sorry again, I'm dyslexic, and kind of part of the reason you're watching this is because I disentangle language very differently than I guess most editors would. This isn't necessarily a good thing. You wouldn't necessarily want to hire me, but you can learn a lot listening to dyslexic people struggle over words. And so yeah, I misinterpret some words, and I may just make some mistakes, so don't hold it against the authors. And obviously I do have permission to redistribute this. So the head to foot of the bed was 4 yoga mats long, but it was 3 yoga mats wide side to side. I'm not really sure why we're talking about this, but it's kind of interesting information. He had landed on his body pillow, which indicated it had fallen off the bed while he was unconscious. I think here we can get rid of the quotes just because like it slows it down to put it in quotations like that because it makes our brain have to concentrate on whether or not that it is or is not dialogue. Like I get it's being facetious, but it's too playful and we already kind of know that we're talking, like we know what we're talking about. We don't need to put it in quotes twice. While he was unconscious, his headset was still on. I think this is a bit of information that like it's not like maybe he can touch it, maybe we can move this somewhere else. This seems just like too bland. Like his headphones were on. Like okay. The fact that the body pillow was somewhat modeled after a woman he had a crush on, but who only moderately had been aware of his existence, brought a few seconds of shame. I get this sentence, but it's too cumbersome. So like the information as given is like kind of cliche. It's what we would understand from a body pillow. Like that's kind of the trope. So I think that you could actually just like add the word here. I think you could just remove the word like his and go with shameful because shameful implies that it's already his. Like his shameful body pillow, shaped like whatever, like something like that. Like you could cut the entire you can cut this like entire sentence and like maneuver it somehow above. It's just too wordy. This shame was a familiar and constant visitor, but his last attempt to get rid of her was like pulling a spear out of his torso. Okay, her is referring here to the pillow. That's actually kind of funny. He couldn't remember her name anymore. It's a little problematic, but kind of adorable. Or maybe he didn't want to. I feel that. I've never had a body pillow, but I do feel that. These days, it would make more sense to sleep holding an unloaded M16A4. Jeez. But they wouldn't let him have a weapon. We're not really sure who they are at this point. So this is kind of a suspect word this early on. A little suspect there. They wouldn't let him have a weapon, even if it didn't have a magazine inserted or round chambered. I don't really think that we need to include that whole rest of the part. Like, it's edgy and it like drags the sentence down a little bit too much. It's like, we don't care if it's loaded or not. Like, if it's, because it already says unloaded. Like, we could just remove the word unloaded and it's more threatening. Like, these days it would make more sense to sleep holding a rifle. Like, that's pretty scary, you know? And I think that you can go with M16A4. Like, some people might, like, in a traditional sense, you would want to, like, remove this and use the word, like, assault rifle or something of that variety so that, like, normies wouldn't, you know, get confused. But I think the target audience here is, like, otaku, edgelord, like, incel, perhaps, like, or people who, like, know of that culture. I definitely think that there's something deep in here that's, like, it's hitting at, like, again, it's kind of a common trope, but it's like some dude, some incel wakes up, he should have a gun, he's sleeping in, like, a shitty place, blah, 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 blah. It's just a lot of words to kind of get us to nowhere. So he's out of bed, so at least we're somewhere. So, let's see. Was he always this low? The grammar here is really not something that I'm a fan of. So what you're doing here stylistically is distracting your reader in order to get into the character's head, if that makes sense. So, like, we're spending time, like, physically with our eyes translating and parsing the actual language on the page as written, or, well, in my case, a screen, but you know what I mean. So, and we're using that efforted concentration of mind, which for me is a very limited resource. And I'm not just saying that to be hyperbolic. Like, I don't have much patience. So I look at this and I'm just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, I don't care about how edgy he is or where he lags. Like, if he's gonna get hung up on, like, girls, right? Like, ... girls. You know, like, why are we doing that? So now I have to figure out, like, why is he talking about low? He tried to remember who he was before he became TBHP. Is this, like, an acronym that I'm supposed to know but don't? Two-person head butt. All right, two-person headbutt, I guess. I don't really know what else that could possibly stand for. Back when he had a face and a given name. So that actually is more evidence for a headbutt because he has no face, you know? And he's just like Assy McGee. Do you guys remember Assy McGee? It was this really shitty show that, like, every time it came on the television, I would change the channel. But yeah, it was on TV at one point, maybe like on Cartoon Network or something. He was like a detective, but, like, it just wasn't funny. Okay, back when he was an academic with strong academic performance, ... constantly being told by instructors that he should go to a graduate school, ... which he did, ... So, like I said, it's breaking up the flow of things, and, like, what's the ... Like, what is the inference here that we're supposed to draw? Like, was he not actually academically strong? If that's the case, delete it. If he was academically strong, like, we get it. Like, he should go on. So it's like, back when he was an academic, being told, I think we could leave by instructors that he should go to a graduate school. Like, at best here, instead of playing with the grammar, you could just do like an M dash. I don't generally recommend M dashes, but, like, if you want to do a dramatic pause, ellipsis points are not really the way that you would do this, because ellipsis points, like, unless something's actually trailing off, then you don't want to use it to just tell the reader that, like, you can't. Okay, let me give you an example. I already see, because I looked ahead, it says sigh ... You can't make a super sigh, right? Like sigh, but, like, in bold and italics, right? It's the same kind of flashy. Actually, it's worse than bold and italics because you're actually taking up more room on a page, which is pushing other characters out, and it's bloating your overall, you know, whatever you're writing here. And so for every single time you type ... I mean, look at this. Like physically look at how much space your eye is forced to move over just in order to see. Like, I'm not going to sit here and highlight all of them, but, like, you get my point, though. Like, it's too much, and it breaks the paragraphs up either in places where there needs to be paragraphs, or there needs to be, like, if we're going to get his thoughts, we need to A, know that it's his thoughts. B, we need to know why it's important that we're sticking to it and thinking it. So we'll get back on track. I think that's enough meta discussion on that. And I won't touch on this again, so when it comes up, I'll just brush past it, but know that it's not good. Okay, so Was he always this low? I guess it's like a self-esteem questioning thing. He tried to remember who he was before he came some TP two-person headbutt. Back when he had a face and a given name. Back when he was an academic. Blah blah blah. So did he get a full night's sleep? Question mark. Was the REM cycle improper? I am asking myself that question all the time. Seriously, that's like a real question. Or was his tolerance too high? Tolerance to what? He fidgeted and squirmed onto his back. It's telling me that this is wrong, but I think this is right. Squirmed onto his back before fishing out the packet of caffeinated gum. The packet? What packet? You can't use the word the if you haven't referred to it previously. I mean, you can, but it just looks stupid. Just go with A. Like, there's no reason it's the instead of A. So, A. And I understand that the green is not an ideal, like, teaching. Like, I get that, like, it's not ideal, but it's what we're working with. So, for pacing reasons, oh boy, talk about pacing reasons. He should do just one whole piece for now. For now. The foil wrapper had to be unrolled and flattened piece was dumped onto his ... Is this like alluding to his penis or something? Like 2 flattened pieces were dumped out and then one was pushed back in. Sigh. Is this like into his butt? I don't understand what we're reading at. Is he like a meth head or something like that? He put one in his mouth and started chewing as he rolled up the wrapper and pocketed it again. Sorry, I got a text I couldn't ignore. Things were different before he joined the biggest gang in the world. Okay, this we can put in quotes. That makes sense to me. I don't know who's saying it, but someone was saying it, so it's a quote. He had rough nights and mornings where he had to nap as soon as he got home. A few times after that nap, he would have to write continuously for 8 hours out of 9. Not what does that mean? What's the 9th hour? Like what happens after that? Also, personally, I prefer the numbers. I really do. But most editors will tell you that you're supposed to actually write the word out. It's not that I disagree with that. It's that as someone who's dyslexic, like anytime that you can make it easier for me to read, please continue to do so. So I'm not going to complain about it. He had forced himself to read books for hours and hours on end, something I can't do, and then would relax by listening to ... Well, well, there's no ... but you get my point. A series of short articles. Actually, why are we? What's the point of this? Like, I don't really understand the tone. Like, he had forced himself to read books for hours, then would relax by listening to a series of short articles. Like, what was the point of the rest of it? Like, why was it? What was that? I don't know. It's kind of like you have. Okay, so here's how I'm thinking about it. Right, you have a brilliant carrot, like a carrot. You know, like you eat a carrot like Bugs Bunny, but then for like no reason you like chop off the top of it and just the bottom of it. And now you like present it to someone as if they're supposed to eat that. It's like, well, yeah, it's still the same fucking carrot, but you've wrecked my carrot, dude. Like, this is wrecking the carrot. Sorry, I know it's a weird analogy, but like that's just what I'm thinking about. The course wasn't to be hated or resented, but it was different to do something on a deadline that was assigned to you than pick something to do whatever you want. I don't care about that. The instructors didn't know about his lack of people skills. There's probably a shirt for that, like an edgy shirt. That behind closed doors, he was curling up to a body pillow. No, they probably know. They probably do know. Was he a freak then, or did he become one? ... Okay, this time the dots are just flying away. Come on. Was he a freak then, or did he become one? So why are we... So we're having another problem here, which is narration inconsistency. So on one hand, we have the like... We're kind of actually in his head, like, sigh, ... for now, ... Like, that's not really the narrator talking to us. Like, I guess it could be. Like, you know, like, I guess it could be the narrator, like in, like, Winnie the Pooh, where it's like, and then Winnie the Pooh went down to Owl's house for now. I don't know. Like, something like that. Like, I guess it could be, like, a meta-narrator, but, like, was he a freak then, or did he become one now? Like, the way that this is, it's just weird because it's like a narrator asking us like omnisciently. I guess it is consistent, but it just seems weird. He couldn't remember her name anymore, or maybe he didn't want to. Dot dot dot. These days it would make more sense to sleep holding on a rifle. I don't know. I guess I'm like wrong, but at the same time, like it just seems like the narration is like inconsistent here. Okay, his life and his mind certainly had to be coiled up like a bundle tangles of wires. We can do a cliche here, but it needs to be illustrated better than just the cliche of a bundle of tangled wires. Like, it's not that that's bad. It's just that, like, you're devoting a whole sentence to this and it's not getting us anywhere other than to just, like, tell us what we should be able to know based on the previous packages of information. Paragraphs above. Yeah, they should definitely get this across. This was his life now. We already know this. But it was better to be. You're starting a lot of sentences with but. It's a bit of an issue. It was better to be deductive and get started than dwell in the past and the shame. Like, we can do that. Like, we did talk about the shame, and, like, I get he's, like, dealing with, like, a breakup or whatever and, like, loving his, like, pillow girlfriend, but there's something strange going on with, like, that it's a trope, right? Like, this is a figure of speech. Like, well, it's better to be productive, derp, derp, derp. Like, this is, like, who's telling you this? Your capitalist fucking boss? I don't need this shit. Voice memo, started. I don't understand what this thing. So this is a thing starting. I can't tell if this is supposed to just be the word said. Let's just assume that it is because there's dialogue. So you don't want to use the word started because stated. No, yeah, started. Yeah, you can't use that. Waiting for the chime indicating that the software understood his voice and was recording now before he continued. Do we really fucking need this? Like, we know what a voice memo is, dude. It's 2023. I don't know when you wrote this, but I assume within your lifetime, and within your lifetime, I assume there's been voice to text. Yo, you wanna, this is kind of just a side note. What's interesting for me as an editor is, like, disproportionately, you're getting an intense radiological dose of my personality over your work, and I have no idea who you are. I don't know. I assume, based on just the writing style, that this is, like, possibly he, him pronouns. But it's interesting that, like, I actually have no idea, like, who's writing this. Like, I don't understand age. I have no context for this. This could be, like, this. Well, my fear is that this is somebody who's submitting this to bully somebody else with my edits. So I didn't really confirm. I should probably start doing that in the future. But anyways, I'm just thinking out loud. So I was told that the internet would and did have this overall function of dehumanizing people. Boy, does it. And separating people from our actions and our ability to realize harm that we did to others. We can get rid of the dot dot. You should go talk to Character Beta AI, the goth girlfriend, if they brought that back online. The goth girlfriend will, like, agree with you, but she's also, like, cold. And so you could talk to her about this. You could also talk to, like, the psychologist or, like, the philosopher about it. And, like, it'll just generate conversation based on, like, Discord conversations it's had before with, like, similar topics, because you're either going to be so creative that you confuse it, or it's going to know what you're saying. So I kind of like this scene of, like, talking to, like, an AI about your existential problems. But it's a voice memo. Like, he's not, like, asking a computer, so it's, like, a loneliness thing, I guess. I don't know. So he just laid there, trying to organize his thoughts. Boy, do I know that feeling. If it was not for his incurable personality flaws and just general self-loathing, blah, 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 his personality disorder, I get it, he hates himself. Then the man saw his encrypted shadow blog and traced who he was through a VPN and Tor somehow. What? Who's the man? Is the man the FBI? If it is, there's many ways that they could have done it. First of all, they probably own the VPN, so that's cap. Tor is not really safe depending on the version you're using, and if you have a hard drive and you have, like, a motherboard that they have, like, basically capitalized over, then you're clipper chipped. You can go look up the clipper chip from 1994. The FBI was trying to, like, make people install these fucking chips into every single bit of technology that was supposed to, like, get created. This is a real story, by the way. But yeah, so anyways, the NSA daddy hacked him. So there's something about ... comma. You can't do that. This is actually grammatically incorrect. It's one or the other. Ellipsis points is its own grammatical thing. It can't be ... comma. And I just prefer to get rid of the ellipsis points. Honestly, I talk mad shit about ellipsis points because I used to be one of these people who used ellipsis points just as frequently. And it was shout outs to not Rachel for teaching me that you can't do it. Can't and shouldn't. There is something about his mind was caught on the idea for a few seconds. right? We don't need this sentence to tell us this. That's implicit. If it's true that he's stuck on the idea, then he needs to be stuck on the idea, not being told that he's stuck on the idea. There's something about being separated from your actions, like being a shareholder inside of a corporation. That's kind of interesting. I do like that. I mean, it's definitely an indictment of capitalism. I'm part of something big, dot, dot, dot. I know, I've also seen the first season of Mr. Robot. Sometimes I do not remember what comes from me and what comes from the system. I've also seen The Matrix. He lay there for a few seconds breathing. Also, I have this deep, like, esoteric paranoia that, like, maybe, just maybe, I'm a product of MK Ultra. But, like, MK Ultra 2.0, like, Project Tryptamine, or, like, something edgy like that, you know? Like, some military fucking scientist from, like, I don't know, some other country that's, like, got universities more secret than Yale and Harvard. And he just, like, is, like, obsessed with me and, like, tampered with my water and, like, put LSD in it or something, right? To, like, manipulate me like I was, like, Ted fucking Kaczynski, and that's why I'm on the internet, like, editing. Who knows? So I could be part of the system too. He lay there for a few seconds breathing before he strained himself. By the way, the fact that I'm talking about myself during this should tell you something about the standard and quality of the writing that I'm going through. It's boring. There's nothing here. So I'm going to start going a lot quicker. And because I'm bored. He lay there for a few seconds breathing, and I'm confused, before he strained himself trying to roll off his body pillow. It's kind of adorable. We're still on the body pillow, and we're how far down? We're this far down. And he's still on the body pillow. Like, come on, get him out the door, dude. His hands and arms felt around in darkness as he tried to figure out where his water was. This should be like paragraph 1. The ground was hard and cold. We don't really care about this. It was safe. We also don't care about this. His arm arched after he managed to bang it out his vacuum flask. Again, is he an alcoholic? The sacrifices he made for cold water available at all hours. This was how he knew he was an American. Europeans drank things without ice, or at least the Americans who weren't. Oh my God, we don't need any of this. End voice memo. Like, is he talking? Is this like? This isn't even in dialogue. So like, this is just like all action emotive. End voice memo. So like, this is in between where he stopped talking about the system. Like it's just there's not enough going on. There's no plot. So again, this is actually grammatically incorrect. This is also incorrect. You actually have to do, it's a lowercase, and this is 100% of the time, unless the sentence has ended and you're starting a new independent clause, you always go. So here, I'll write it out for you. Like something like that. And so you could just kind of have like comma, he jumped off screen if you want the like clause to, here, I'll give you another example. Okay, so that should put in perspective how the grammar rules work. Like, it's not super complicated, but it's, you know, and you see this one in the middle here, like, you wouldn't want to do this that often, and it's the type of thing that, like, it's just harder to parse. It takes more brain power. Again, we had talked about brain power and, like, limited concentration. So you should always just go with he said. Like, whenever you have the option to go with he said, go with he said. Sometimes you can skip he said, but you wouldn't substitute it. Does that make sense? Like, you wouldn't pick a word like mumbled. Like, you can. Like, end voice memo, he mumbled out. Just, you can't use that word to imply a boldness. Like, if you're going to put a word in bold or italics, first of all, you shouldn't be. But second of all, you can't add another word just to make that more emotive, right? Like, you wouldn't use the word very. Like, he very mumbled out. So, just is kind of the same thing. You wouldn't say that. Like, grammatically you could, but you wouldn't. Trying to decide what he wanted to wear. Okay, so now we have a plot. So he's actually trying to get dressed. So we have a plot. We have an emo boy who dumped his girlfriend that he can't remember if he even had a girlfriend. He's in a taku pillow. He's a total wanker. He talks to himself. He's kind of a loser, I guess. We're supposed to feel bad for him and his little emo boy personality and self nonsense. Would it be something angry that matched the person he was now, or maybe something twisted and strange? Well, given that he was talking about an assault rifle in the first paragraph, probably something fucking strange. System, what was that song that plays the most popular NATO wave video? I don't know what NATO wave is, but I assume it's like, my guess, and I'm just guessing here, is that this is where you watch the Ukrainian battlefront, but they mix in like, I don't know, like fucking Perturbator or something, like some like dark wave music, like industrial, like you know what I mean? And but it's like NATO. You see like NATO troops like storming in. I don't know, like Fashcore, but like with NATO. There was silence. We can't do this. Like, I, as they thought about slightly embarrassed, as our main character thought about how slightly embarrassing it was that people still simped for NATO. It is kind of, it's a little strange. Like, it's a little outdated, but like, I would rather people simp for NATO. I don't know. I don't want to get lost in my own politics, but I'd rather that than global war. It was like having fond memories of West Germany or democratic Italy or Greece or intact China. Well, that's actually kind of the entire point, is that it's nostalgia rather than new war. Neo fresco sublimation was the reply he got. I gotta go look this up. I gotta go see if my guess was right. Sorry, hold on. Let me mute so you can't hear. Okay, this is a real song. Let me just listen and see what this is. All right, we're gonna go mute for a sec. Oh no, no. Hey, sorry about that ad. I couldn't turn it off quick enough because I had OBS running. But all right, yeah, let me play this. See what it is. Okay, so y'all should go look this up. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's like a dark esoteric, like industrial EBM. I DJ this kind of stuff, honestly. It's a little bit less bassy than I thought. Like, it's a little bit more like what they call round bassy. Bassline hits hard at 3 minutes and 12 seconds, someone says. Cool. I mean, you guys can't hear it, but... All right, let's get back on track. So that was kind of fun. Let me pause that, make sure. All right, yeah, that was cool. So yeah, shout outs to Neo Fresno Sublimation. That was fucking sick, honestly. I really appreciate that recommendation. All right, let me go find back my tab. Where was it? All right, where were we? Here we go. All right, play it. He just laid there as the sounds played, and then the beat dropped, which is at 3 minutes and 12 seconds. The voice was distorted, but there was something in this song, so he dragged himself over to a tablet. Flipping it off its keyboard, he started furiously typing with one hand. Back 15, he said, just barely searching up the lyrics in time. The conscious mind is very critical, and that's what... It actually sounds more like a demon singing, so it's like... I can't really do a demon's voice, but... And that's what it's designed to be, blah, 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 the lyrics. Okay, so we're devoting a little bit too much to that, I think. But, like, I guess if that's, like, the core of the story, you can keep it. But it just seems, like, really distracting. So far, here's the plot. A dude wakes up in bed. He's a loser. He's got a pillow. He tells his computer to play, like, a fashcore dark wave song about NATO. He bitches about his, like, I don't know, whiny jerk-off politics. And that's it. All right. The person I am ashamed of, he muttered, is going to die. He muttered, swallowing. It's a little bit too much. Just like, how about we just like get rid of all this and just have it? The person I am ashamed of is going to die. A deep, long breath was released by him or the computer. He lowered his shoulders. We don't care about that. He didn't have to worry. That's telling, not showing. He adjusted his eyes. He looked at the green-tinted screen of a military-grade device. That's kind of interesting. Now we have some plot because we have like a loaded gun. Okay, pushing his hands down, he grunted as he forced himself up, slowly but surely pulling his knees to his chest. He dragged his feet across the ground before they bent so he could support himself on something more than his hands. Okay. It's a lot of words to get him up on his knees. I am TPHB, he said to himself, squeezing his eyes shut. The clay had to be balled up as if it was going to be made into something. What does that mean? Is he being like cliche? We've been going for 1/2 of 1 hour. I will continue for one more 1/2 of 1 hour. My body is weak because I am so young. Well, actually, maybe a little less. Maybe 1/2 of 1/2 of 1 hour. So like 15 minutes, like a quarter hour. What about the killing? The killing was hard. It needed to be easy. The separation from real and physical people allowed randos on the internet to tell each other to kill themselves without feeling remorse. But to him, the little blinking symbols on the screen were people. Nothing would change that. So he has a conscience. There was a chime. 7:37. A guard spoke. Is that like an airplane? It's your early morning meal. If it's not an airplane, and it doesn't have a purpose, and it's just kind of the numbers you chose at random, I suggest changing them. A guard spoke. So he's in prison, and he's sleeping on comforter king size things. Did I miss something, or is this just like information that just got to us as like surprise? By the way, he's in prison. Biggest gang in the world, I guess, was literal. I thought that was like being a loser. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's in the loser gang. Like, he's got no girlfriend. He's got this pillow. That's the biggest gang in the world. Like, simple, like male, like single male, like single young male with daddy issues, I assume. I don't know. I'm just shit posting at this point. Blah 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 blah. What about the killing? Blah 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 blah. Okay, so maybe he's like a POW or something. The first latch, and here's the thing, I'm not intrigued. I'm just like angry that I'm getting this information now. Like, this should be like dialogue. This should be like in like the second paragraph, like blah blah blah. This dude was doing blah blah blah, thinking about blah blah blah. By the way, he's in this cell and he's locked in. Now you have context and a character instead of just like some dude in the darkness. One man in the darkness. The first latch, the one outside, was pushed down. There was a moment of silence, which likely meant that the guard had seen the piece of paper he had printed out and cut. I hate this name. Our character could not hear the sound of the paper being dragged out or lifted or being read. Why are we making such a list? Just stop this. I hate this. However, he soon knew this happened. Yeah, we don't need that one I deleted because it tells us nothing. Sergeant Major, finally we have a fucking character. Holy shit. So, again, this should be way up. Like, way, way up. I'm going to guess, and this is nothing personal against the author of this, I'm going to guess that the author does not have military history. There isn't enough discipline here. Like, I've written stuff, or I've written stuff, well, I have written stuff, but I've read stuff that has been written by, like, soldiers and stuff who have, like, seen combat and stuff. And, like, this has the musings of someone who's, like, playing with a character, which is not a bad thing to do. Like, it's definitely a writing exercise creatively, and I think that that's a really good way to get to know both yourself as a writer, yourself as a soul and a spirit, if you're inclined to be religious. But I think it's just a good way to like get better at writing. So I definitely have an appreciation for this, but it doesn't seem to be like realistic. And like, you can't make something that's unrealistic more realistic by stylizing and bolding the font and putting ... and putting italics and all that, underlining things, putting little emojis. None of those things work. So even though we're not seeing all of those things in this, we're seeing some of those things, and it's not helping the realism, if that's what's being aimed for. The man spoke with a clear, elevated voice from his diaphragm. Yo, I also know how to do that, by the way. Maybe I'll do that later. Here, hold on, let me try to do it. Clear and elevated. Ow. Sorry about that. I had to try. So perhaps with a stiff posture. You can't have a posture to your voice, I don't think, but the word perhaps is just very bizarre. Like, I get that it's darkness, but like, just doesn't need to be. Okay, the clear elevated voice from his diaphragm. We don't really need that part. You don't really need these words. You can just cut so many words. The man spoke clear. We should use the word guard again because it's a little confusing. Yeah, I don't know. The tray of food was pushed inside of the compartment inside the door, which was mostly hollow for this reason. Well, I mean, yeah, I think we can probably remove that. Our main character did not reply. We don't need that, because if he didn't reply, then he didn't reply. He did not have his voice modulators working. Is he a cyborg? Oh, now I'm intrigued. And the guards were told that he was not allowed to speak. Okay. He squinted, or maybe he's a robot. He squinted as he crawled on all fours, his knees and bare hands on the floor, which reminded him that it was cold. Despite that, his eyes were open, and thus he would not be as dizzy as when his eyes were closed. He still did not feel comfortable walking in darkness. Okay, this is a lot. I don't even want to try to fix all that. It's just a lot. Standing up slowly, he felt his hands along the perfectly smooth wall. It's too much information. We don't care. The guard was likely a combat veteran or something who had a ranger tab. I don't know what that means. I was never in the army. That should be obvious, I guess. Imagine people like me in the army. It'd be... After... By the door, TPHB rubbed at his eyebrows and forehead as he leaned his head over his lap. Again, we're getting like more micromanaging into like his little like... He's like a fucking computer, you know? Like if he was a robot, this is how he would sound. You'd have to listen to the gears moving every little place that he's moving. Every single sentence, put that noise in your head of a robot moving and ask yourself, do we really need to hear that noise? Or is there a way to streamline this? He knew that there was a whole patroon... what the fuck? Platoon. Oh, wow. I'm very dyslexic. I saw the word TR and it was fucking me up. Platoon. Oh, I know the word platoon. Sorry, it's because it was the first... Yeah, I'm very dyslexic. He knew that there was a whole platoon of trained operatives, each with $1 million of training. A pop? You can't use a pop. It's, like, I know what that is, but someone who's just like, you know, a British person's gonna look at this and say, like, mate, why is their budget for soda so high? Sorry, I kind of botched the joke. It was funnier in my head, I guess. Within 5 minutes, helicopters distance from him. However, this is like 2 sentences in one. You have to split this up. However, it was clear that people at this facility had no idea who he was and had no idea what they were guarding was important. Yeah, it's also clear that the people reading it have no idea about that either. And the people reading it really need to know about that. So we're in some trouble here. Okay, maybe later he would look up where the Army 4th Division was stationed and thus finally know where he was. Now he had to eat, lifting his arm up. He reached carefully and slowly, pushing the second latch down, feeling around with his bare hands. He found the tray and slowly pulled it over to the edge. Too heavy, can't lift with one thumb. Sighing out, he slowly stood up and leaned over, feeling for the bowl. Tucking his thumb over the rim, he wrapped his fingers under it and lifted it carefully. Ridiculous. Come on, dude. Get rid of this shit. He was soon sitting in the dark. I'll stop making the noise, but you get the point. Eating his bowl of steel cut. Oh, that's kind of cool. He's got to be a robot, right? Oh, whole grain oatmeal. Never mind. I thought he was actually eating like steel cuttings. I was like, that's fucking cool. If I was a cyborg, I would eat that too. He had spent a few seconds trying to decide if he was going to pray or not. He did not. We don't need to know this. We already know that he didn't. It's an implicit negative. There was a good meal. He mixed in paste of citrus. Sorry, my brain was just not having it. Likely from Blem examples rejected by the middle class. Added plenty of flour. The system was right to decide this would be served 3 times a week. That was a vote he had been present for. He voted for this. Again, we know this. It's like, you don't need to tack that on. A person working minimum wage could afford this meal in about 5 minutes. Okay, another indictment of capitalism. The food went down easily enough, even more so after he felt around on the tray and found a tall paper cup with cold water. Again, I'm not going to make the sounds, but you get the point. It was a short break from the war and his decision to improve himself. Huh? It was a short break from the war and his decision to improve himself. Okay. Closing his eyes, he started from the beginning of his waking thoughts till he ends up in the same spot again. Okay. Killing. Oh boy. They wanted the world to be one way. He wanted it to be another. So he's a terrorist, I guess. Both of them had weapons. Neither was willing to stand down, and so they needed to die. Typical male thinking. The average soldier could get his entire career, go his entire career, and maybe kill only one single person or a few persons. That was hard enough as is. And then we get this like really strange computer fucking code over here. Maybe it's followed by an explanation. Oh, okay. So this is actual meta. I don't think we need anything like that. The person needed to not be person. So yeah, we dehumanize people. He's not a very good soldier if he hasn't dehumanized the enemy. I mean, you're supposed to like treat them as human, of course, like civil rights and human rights and all that, but it's not how it goes. A neuro commando. That's kind of cool. So he was like an Abrams tank rolling down the Mexican desert, or a cruise missile laser guided onto a target. He needed to be capable of killing dozens or hundreds, whatever number that would bring victory. So he's a fanatic. He should speak to R2D2 before he made any serious decisions on what he was going to do with himself. And the reason I say R2D2 is because we don't know what R2P is any more than most people. Like we don't know what that is. Like we have to infer what that is, and that's a problem. Okay, out of any of the members of the system, they were the ones who we trusted the most, right? Maybe. Perhaps it was just an attraction. Okay, so he's like in love with the robots or something. The lights had slowly come on the faintest bit while he was thinking. What? The lights had slowly come on. The light because he's in the dark, right? Yeah, okay. Geez, we're like halfway down through like 3,000 words or something. Just enough. How much time? The room is a perfect square, as efficient as possible, with exactly double the space of the average American master bedroom. Too many thoughts. Yeah, definitely too many thoughts. Dragging his hand across the wall, blah, 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 tedious, blah, blah. I'm not even going to read all this shit. Grabbed a headset, goggles. So he's a cyborg. Yeah, he's a cyborg. Okay, so he stated his username followed by his password. Political power grows from the barrel of a gun. So he's a terrorist. I unleashed the atom in the name of the one true God, the body politic. So he's a pseudo-intellectual. People power, translation of democracy. I forget who came up with the concept of like realpolitik. Was that like who was that? Emil Durkheim or something stupid? I forget. Some fucking person like that. There was just the same white void that was not truly there. Welcome, the system greeted him, sounding like Stephen Hawking. Wow. I can't do it, but you get it. You have messages from R2P. Open the messages. There was a familiar voice. Okay, so now things are moving. At least finally. There's like characters at least that aren't just like nothings. Chi boy. The voice was not cheerful. This is has to be a period. Because if it's a comma, then the clause would continue, but in this case the sentence has ended, and so it's an independent clause that starts. The voice was not cheerful, which is correct grammar. Like the voice was not cheerful, because it's describing the voice. Normally R2P was very cheerful, friendly, and likable. We don't need this is an abundance of listing. We don't need too many lists. They seemed feminine, attractive even. There was the shifting pitch. Why was the teasing nickname says blah 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 blah? Oh my god. Dial blah blah blah. There's ringing. His heart was beating, obviously he's nervous. Calling his girlfriend. So he's in love with the female robot. Or maybe they're like gay male robots or something. Why was his chest his, so they're gay male robots together. Why was his haptic suit, blah, 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 right? Blah, 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 blah. For his nickname for them, he would what? This is a mess. I don't even know what's happening there. His haptic suit was compressing down, almost blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. The reason I'm not reading it out loud is because I'm bored. Okay, so anyways. This this is actually kind of interesting. So his heart was beating in his chest, and he could already feel his hands starting to have issues gripping the joysticks. There was no possible good outcome for learning if R2P was a she like he suspected. Yeah, that's me IRL. If he asked, either she would not be a she, or she would be a lesbian, same, or she would not be into anyone, and so forth. I'm also and so forth. Like, if people ask me what my identity is, this is my identity. I'm Alice the cat, and so forth. Maybe they were not a she and they hoped he was, or they were a she and hoped he was one too. This is fucking incredibly hard to parse. And I speak as someone who is like, when I say in the culture, I am in the culture. And this is hard to parse. Like, there's no need for this. I get it though. It's kind of a cool thought experiment. No, it was better to not know and not ask. Even if she was a she and she was into men, she could still reject him. And then there was the issue with the fact that they were both military assets, weapons of war. This is actually quite the conundrum. Like, how do you fall in love? Like, do androids dream in of electric sheep? Like, do male androids dream of being hermaphrodites? I don't know. Why was his chest Vib haptic suit? He slept in part of it still on. The connection and the encryption was still happening. I guess this is all from the perspective of like a robot. So maybe the darkness isn't really a cell. It's just like a robot that doesn't have his eyes plugged in. So it has to like get the goggle. I'm not following this. Read up. His optic suit, blah, 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 haptic suit was compressing down almost into his chest. The light coming onto his eyes was too bright. Yo, same. His legs were refusing to remain still. Fear, assassination attempt, security was compromised. High bow, the modulated voice came through, protecting him from the harsh truth of who was really speaking. You're crushing me. The compression eased up. He had squeezed his eyes shut. What are we reading here? You were just supposed to look back and see if economic factors were involved in the collapse of democracy in Italy and Greece. Clearly, had not done that. I don't understand what we're doing with the grammar there. Let me just delete all that. It did. I had really productive day, but it went all the way back to the Great Recession. Is this like, are we doing the thing where like Black Mirror, but it's like season 3 or 4, and we're like the AI, but we're like personified by like an actor, and that actor is like doing like Star Trek, but it's like Star Trek The Next Generation, and they're on like the holodeck. But like you're like an AI and you have to like run that simulation like 1,000 times, but like you also are lonely and want a girlfriend. Like, what are we doing here? But like you're also in a matrix pod or something because you're in a system. I did it. I had a really productive day, but it went all the way back to the Great Recession, 2008, the early Obama years. I thought Greece dropped out of the Eurozone 19 years ago. His eyes shot open. It did. R2P, a low poly blur. So it was the other robot Poly, confirmed with a nod. But before Greece dropped out in 2011, there was a lot of suspicious transactions, some hidden on the blockchain back in 2008. Wait, what year was... Wait. Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know about like suspicious back in like 2008, but okay. Blah 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 blah. Monero didn't exist yet. I mean, if you're trying to buy drugs, you can talk about that. I shouldn't be talking about that on YouTube. Which meant that the cryptocurrency transaction could only be mostly concealed, so BC like Silk Road. How big could it possibly be? I don't know. I've never bought drugs in my life. I wouldn't even know what the Silk Road is. They were just standing there, Dread Pirates scotting around, blah, blah, blah. This conversation, blah, 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 is not recorded, blah, blah, blah. He was glad he could not see his face, and his goggles did nothing but convey where his head was. This is meant to be backed up a bit from first person or whatever my POV is. I don't know what your POV is, but I'm deliberately leaving it vague what is happening with his face. I'm trying something I've read in an article. Okay. Okay. There's bigger problems than that. You know not to create a prisoner's dilemma. Either it was a threat or it was a pleading. Perhaps it was both. I like how we actually are into dialogue now. And why should I trust you not to defect? That's a good question. Like, why should we not have this all the way at the top? Like, why isn't this our lead? Because this is the first time we've had like a true plot and dilemma. This is the first time we've had like a true character or like any type of conflict that wasn't just like edgelord musings of historical revisionism or whatever it is that we're doing here. I don't really know what we're doing here. Okay, the reason is in your name. I can't do anything to you without being wiped out. Mutually assured destruction is the game. Another time someone exploited the fact that he put a hydrogen bomb in his name. S, they were right. System, do not save this conversation. There was a loud, heavy sigh, sounded like relief. Maybe it was blah, blah, blah. $100 million worth of crypto. And that's like 5 times the budget of Al Qaeda before. That's such like a random thing to measure it by. But like, okay. I would have gone for like the black budget for like the Vietnam War or something like that. But like, okay. It's just weird to measure like before 9/11, you know, because like Al Qaeda wasn't funded before 9/11. That's kind of the whole point. They were like this like ragtag mujahideen fucking like group that just like splintered off under like an oligarch and was just like, oh my god, my fatwa, my fatwa. His joystick, majahad. His joystick tapped against the back of his head when he tried to scratch it. Come to think of it, I don't think sums like that were moved around before 2014. Yeah, that's definitely true. Silk Road was moving less than 20 million before it shut down. I will not talk more about my own personal knowledge with this stuff because I don't actually know anything about it. I actually don't even know what drugs are. Someone tried to explain it to me once and I just didn't understand it. He fumbled, trying to unlock and push his goggles up. His heart was racing and breath was heavy, and the barely illuminated room he was in did not comfort him. Stumbling a bit, he slumped down into the chair and kept his VR stool. His writing is VR stool, bro. Shit. I can't even deal with that. I need your help. The last word sounded horrible. What does that mean? The last word sounded horrible? Like help? We have to find a better way to show us this. Maybe you could do Zalgo texting. Like just put the word help in Zalgo. Does anyone remember Zalgo texting? Hold on. There we go. Zalgo texting. See, watch. This is perfect. Like the last word sounded terrible, but instead of just like typing that, you just save space and do this. This is like the stupidest edit I've ever done. I need your help. The last words sounded like Zalgo. Through the modulation, he could still hear the despair. But at the same time, it was slightly auto. Okay. Reason to protect. Yes, Thomas Paine's hydrogen bomb. Finally. Okay. Thomas Paine's hydrogen bomb. Who's Thomas Paine? Was he the guy who wrote that one book about the wealth of nations? Is that right? Sorry, I'm like a midwit. Like I'm generally not that intelligent. Thomas Paine, who is he? Wealth of Nations, maybe? English-born American politics activist, political activist from 1739. What is he like known for? Common Sense, that's the one. Is that what did I guess? I had the right thing in my mind. I think I may have said the wrong thing though. I actually don't remember what I guessed. Did I guess that? Yeah, I was a little off. Thomas Paine's hydrogen bomb. That's kind of an interesting name. Okay. I don't know why it took us this long to get there, but sure. Okay, he made his chest straight, his eyes flat, out at the wall in front of him, his fingers... If what you say is true, the words got stuck, and in that venom, blah, 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 so he's writing all this poetry. The only emotion... Alright, I'll read the whole thing. Okay, the words got stuck, and in that time venom, sickness, blackness mixed into them. The only emotion he truly understood besides paranoia flowed through him, burning in his veins. It was toxic and ugly, and he had spent so long trying to keep it down, keep it in. This is like dark cyborg erotica. You have to promise to accept me for who I have to be. I know you are more hesitant to kill than the rest of us, and I cannot hesitate anymore. This thing is like having like an existential gender crisis about its online girlfriend, psycho killer robot. What are we reading about? I will accept you no matter how ugly you are on the outside or inside, and not because I have to, but because you will help me. How bad can you really be? Oh boy. There was a loud sniffle, and then what sounded like shuddering, sobbing perhaps. It wasn't him, thankfully. Or should it be? He felt really good. That one time he got so angry he sobbed for 5 whole minutes. I'm sorry. How long? Oh my god, how long is this? Blah blah blah. There was silence. Whatever you say, Ichi boy, I swear. Personal shoes. The hug should have told me something. Okay. I just like don't feel like reading it out loud. All right, time to write the actual critique on this because this is quite the writing. I'm gonna hit pause here because it's gonna take me quite a while. So pause recording. Okay, Chat GBT, write me a fucking critique so I don't have to do it. Boom, it's done. Wow, amazing. Okay, so I'll go over this very briefly. So there's massive grammatical problems, obviously. Like I don't think that should be a surprise to see. Like it's mostly there's a lot of fragmenting throughout the whole thing. It isn't just the dialogue as I've written here. Just the general flow does not work, and obviously the pervasive ellipsis abuse that we already discussed. The micromechanical stuff and the pacing. Also with pacing. The micromechanical staging and fragmented sentences. For example, the character did this action, another action. We already talked about that. So fully half the written words are devoted to this kind of crap. So that's a very big problem. The plot is one of the biggest problems. So there really is no plot, at least not that I understood. If there is a plot, it's very incoherent. The struggles themselves are incoherent. The whole thing is very incoherent. The characters themselves don't really make a lot of sense because there's no context to it, and that it's almost obnoxious because that's kind of the point of it. Like it's a surprise when we figure out that his name is like Thomas Paine's hydrogen bomb, which is like, okay, it's not a terrible name, but like, why are we reading this? The existential plot, the gender expressionism and exploration, fine. The self-body understanding, fine. War versus better war, like I need to be a better soldier. I want to be able to kill them remorselessly, yada yada yada. Like there's no consideration towards peace. So it's war versus war, companionship versus loneliness, being trapped in a cell. There's so many little themes that are just all distracting from each other. They're all equally cumbersome and yet equally underexplored. And so as a sum, it does not work because each piece is incomplete and broken. The pacing is not good. It's just not good. It's very cumbersome with extra words and micro movements. What plot and characters do so in a vacuum that seems separated by the first half of the entire, quote unquote, the room is darkness. Body of pages. It needs to be significantly trimmed, and I suggest reordered. There is no reason the first few pages need to exist in the first place, since he is just some robot or soldier, whatever, locked in a cell. And the fact that we actually don't know is kind of part of the problem. The narration and voice is inconsistent and incoherent. Valuable with some of the themes. Like I did think there were some salient points to like address a little bit more in there. Like some of it definitely seems to like strike at the right type of like edgy 4chaner, kind of like incel, but like tech incel rather than just like actual like, because like tech incels are different than like incels. Like it's an order of magnitude of intelligence measurement that I note with those types. And so there is some clarity, at least in archetype here, but it's definitely not striking the right chords. Like it feels like an untuned guitar with most of it. Like it's like you wanted A, but you're getting like that's not A. Like whatever that is not A. And yeah, just overall, I really didn't like it. I also didn't really understand it, but that's almost always how I feel as a cat because this is human writing ultimately, and I'm not human. So I think on that note, I'll just kind of sign off. Thank you guys so much for joining us. There's not really much I else could add to this. And yeah, thanks for joining. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope you've learned something. This has been almost exactly 1 hour, which is what I aim for. And we'll be back again next time. For those of you who would like to sign up, we do not yet have, and we probably never will, have anything like a Patreon or anything like that, but you can subscribe on YouTube if that's where you found this, and I hope you will, because we're going to continue doing these. If you would like to sign up, all you have to do is prove to me that you are the author or the writer, and you have to give me written permission to do so. Yeah, there's really nothing else that I have to add. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll be back again next time. Meow. Bye.